Demi Moore once said that when she asked Ashton Kutcher if the cheating rumors were true, he admitted it immediately. No hesitation, no confusion. And she said her reaction felt like she could barely breathe. What makes that moment remarkable is not just that he confessed. It is how long the collapse had apparently been building before she ever asked the question. Because when you go back through the timeline of their marriage, the interviews, the photographs, the public declarations of devotion, you start to notice how often Demi Moore was trying to hold together something that Ashton Kutcher had already emotionally stepped away from. And what she later revealed makes you go back and look at every red carpet appearance and every smiling magazine cover and wonder exactly how long the gap existed between what was being presented publicly and what was actually true behind closed doors. By the time the marriage ended, Demi Moore had lost her sobriety, her health, her relationship with her daughters, and almost her sense of self entirely. And the most devastating part is that she appears to have believed the entire time that if she just gave a little more of herself away, the relationship could still be saved. She had already survived almost everything before Ashton Kutcher entered her life. Addiction, childhood instability, Hollywood discarding actresses once they reached a certain age, a brutal divorce from Bruce Willis after 13 years of marriage, and then years of trying to rebuild herself while raising 3 daughters, largely under the glare of public scrutiny. Then in 2003, she met Ashton Kutcher at a dinner party through mutual friends. She was 41 years old. He was 25, 16 years apart. Hollywood immediately turned the relationship into a spectacle. The older woman. The younger man. Endless headlines questioning whether it was real or sustainable or serious. But according to Demi, Ashton made her feel seen in a way she had not experienced in years. He did not appear intimidated by her fame. He embraced her children. He seemed enthusiastic about family life. That distinction matters, because Bruce Willis had been one of the biggest movie stars in the world when Demi married him. Ashton Kutcher was still becoming Ashton Kutcher. She was the established star. He was the younger actor entering an already built life. And in retrospect, that imbalance reads differently. They married in September of 2005 in a private ceremony attended by Demi's daughters, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah Willis. Ashton reportedly stepped into the role of stepfather quickly and enthusiastically. Publicly, they looked inseparable. They did interviews together, appeared constantly in paparazzi photographs, posted playful moments online before celebrity social media became carefully manufactured corporate branding. Demi later described that period as one of the happiest stretches of her life, which is precisely why what happened next became so psychologically destabilizing. Early in the marriage, Ashton reportedly asked Demi to bring another person into their sex life, a threesome. Demi eventually wrote in her memoir that she agreed because she wanted to appear adventurous and youthful. She wanted to prove she could keep up with him. That wording matters. Prove, not share. Not explore together. Prove, that word was not accidental. It was chosen by someone who had years to think about why she agreed to something she apparently did not truly want. And if you have ever been on the receiving end of a relationship where affection slowly became performance, you understand precisely what that phrasing conceals. According to Demi, they had 2 threesomes during the marriage, and later, when Ashton's affairs became public, she claimed he used those experiences to blur the boundaries of accountability. The implication being that because they had introduced other people into the relationship sexually, fidelity had somehow become negotiable. That sequence is deliberate. He requested something that challenged her emotional security. She agreed in order to preserve closeness. Then later, the same compromise was reframed as partial justification for betrayal. It lands entirely on its own, but before the affairs became public, another loss had already begun destabilizing the marriage from the inside. Demi became pregnant during the early years of their relationship. She was 42 years old. They planned to name the baby Chaplain Ray. Then, roughly 6 months into the pregnancy, she miscarried. That event changed the emotional gravity of the relationship. Demi later described spiraling afterward. After approximately 20 years of sobriety, she began drinking again. They attempted IVF treatments repeatedly. None worked, and while Demi was grieving the future she thought they were building, Ashton Kutcher was increasingly absent emotionally in ways that would only become obvious later. In 2010, Ashton reportedly met a 21-year-old woman named Brittany Jones while bowling with Demi's daughter Rumor. That detail changes the emotional texture of the story immediately. He was not living a separate hidden life, entirely disconnected from the family. The overlap was constant. According to Jones, the affair took place inside the marital home while Demi was away filming Another Happy Day in New York. The allegations reached tabloids before Demi received clarity privately from her husband, and when she confronted Ashton, he denied it. That is important because it created a psychological split inside the marriage that would define the final years. Demi later wrote that despite the humiliation, despite the reporting, she chose to believe him because she still wanted the marriage to survive. Wanting something to survive can distort what a person is willing to accept as reality. Then came September of 2011. Ashton attended Danny Masterson's bachelor party in San Diego during the same weekend as his 6th wedding anniversary with Demi Moore. There, he allegedly met 22-year-old Sarah Leal, a Pilates instructor, who later described their encounter publicly to Us Weekly in graphic detail. This time, the denial structure collapsed almost immediately. According to Demi, the specifics in Leal's interview aligned too closely with the man she knew privately. She said she felt physically sick reading it, not because she discovered something entirely foreign, but because it confirmed what she had apparently already begun suspecting, and what happened afterward revealed something darker than infidelity alone. Demi later described moments where Ashton photographed her while she was intoxicated and passed out. In one account from her memoir, she said he took pictures of her lying near a toilet after drinking heavily, then showed the images to her later, as if it were a joke. But in retrospect, she no longer interpreted it as humor. She interpreted it as humiliation. That distinction changes everything because it reframes the power dynamic of the marriage. Demi was not simply trying to keep a younger husband interested. She was increasingly becoming emotionally dependent on validation from someone who may already have been quietly withdrawing respect from the relationship itself. And during this same period, Demi claimed Ashton questioned whether alcoholism was even real. That sentence sits heavily once you place it beside the timeline. A woman with a long documented addiction history loses a pregnancy, relapses after 2 decades sober, struggles through failed fertility treatments, spirals emotionally, and the person closest to her reportedly minimizes the legitimacy of addiction itself. That is not the reaction of someone emotionally equipped for what was happening. By 2012, Demi Moore's collapse had become impossible to conceal publicly. During a party attended by one of her daughters, she reportedly suffered a seizure after using nitrous oxide and synthetic substances. Emergency services were called. The incident became national news almost immediately. And then something even more painful happened. Her daughters pulled away from her. Rumor, Scout, Tallulah. The children she had spent years protecting through her divorce. From Bruce Willis reportedly stopped speaking to her for a period of time. Bruce himself, despite remaining close to Demi for years after their divorce, also became more distant during the aftermath. Imagine the emotional arithmetic of that moment. A marriage collapsing publicly. Addiction returning publicly. Your children stepping back emotionally. Your former husband unable to reach you. And tabloids documenting every stage of the unraveling in real time. Demi Moore had once been the highest-paid actress in Hollywood. In the mid-1990s, she earned a reported $12.5 million for striptease, a record-setting salary for a woman at the time. None of that status protected her from ending up completely alone. And this is where the story quietly changes direction, because the person who appeared destroyed by the divorce eventually became the only one willing to examine herself honestly. Afterward, Demi entered treatment, recommitted to sobriety, rebuilt relationships with her daughters slowly over time. And notably, she did not wage a public war against Ashton Kutcher during those years. No sustained interview circuit, no public retaliation campaign, no tabloid leaks every month. Silence became strategy. Silence became dignity. That silence matters even more when you look at what happened after her 2019 memoir Inside Out was released.